I'm Tabitha Palachi. My husband and I own Boarded by Chef Vince. My husband is the certified chef, so he went to culinary school and he kind of is, professionally trained. We owned a food truck, and then we sort of branched off into charcuterie when COVID hit. It's kind of like people pre-order, there's no waste, it's a little bit more economical anyway from what we were doing with the food truck. So this is where we are today. And come on in, I'm just introducing myself. My name's Tabitha. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do they get food?
Sometimes they have some.
Good morning.
I might be late, but I'm okay.
All right. Trajectory, I'm sure it's probably, sorry. Right? We should have had stadium seating in here, right? Give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. I love the hats. They're so beautiful. I was telling Jasmine, I forgot that it was a Kentucky Derby theme. I was like, I have a hat too. I could totally wear it.
I can't believe people have that.
All right. In the interest of time, we're going to get started. Again, my name is Tabitha Palachi. My husband and I own Boarded by Chef Vince. We do a lot of charcuterie. So charcuterie is the French word for cured meats. So really the whole kind of method is based around the meats. But it really is the artistically, way you kind of artistically display the meats with the cheeses and the crackers. It's all about textures and flavors and colors. And you'll see it's kind of a big trend right now if you're on social media at all, but it's all over the place. And we really take pride in what we do. We do classic charcuterie, we do brunches with pastries and bagels and lots of fruit. We do dessert boards. So we kind of will put anything on a board. Recently we had someone custom order a fondue board. So we had like the meats and the cheeses and the chocolate dipping and stuff like that. So we just kind of beautifully displayed it on the board for them. So today we're going to kind of build as much of the board as we can within the half an hour. We should be able to get to everything and also kind of show you how to display certain things. So right here we have triangle cheeses. So this is manchego cheese. I'm going to try to not let it fall off the board and typically we don't, let it sit out this long, but since nobody's eating it, we have it displayed. But there are many ways you can kind of display the cheese, right? So you can kind of stack it like this, which we'll use on the board today. You can kind of create like a line or a separation by just kind of, fanning it out, if you will. I like to do this on a round board so you can kind of see how it follows the line of the board. So you can do it on a rectangle, a round, any shape, and it kind of helps with how you display the cheeses to make sure that it goes in line with the board itself. And so you can fan it, we call this the crown, and then just kind of like upward triangles. Some of these, you're going to be placing like, nuts and things on top. So we like, there's many different methods you can do, but we typically kind of do a compact board. So you can kind of spread it out and like, make it like larger or a grazing table. We typically do something like this. Try not to spill this as well. But you'll have different layers. There's meat kind of under there. So some people look at, our boards and say, is that going to feed everybody? And then they always message us and say, we had leftovers. So I said, I know, it's a lot. There is a lot in there. And then these are the way we display the meats. So we've got sort of a nest. This is your thinly sliced meats, sort of the fattier meats like prosciutto. You can kind of make a nest. I'll show you how to do that. You can fan the salami. This is called the braid. So this is a chorizo braid. And I'll show you how to fold that. And then the rose. I love the rose. So I'll show you how to do that too. And there's a little trick, a secret. If you don't know yet, we'll show you how to do that. So What we typically do too is we kind of start in the center with the brie. So I just take any old cookie cutter. Wait, this is a church. And we can do hearts. So we do themes for all different, holidays, events, whatever it may be. We just spray a little bit of, nonstick spray on here, cut out the center, and then you have your focal point. You can use just this piece, so this could even make, 2 boards, or sometimes we kind of place it in a 3-dimensional way so that you can see it kind of pulled out. You can also, once you have it on the board, you can put pomegranate seeds in there, something contrasting, fruit, or you can even do preserves, so like a jam or a honey or something like that in the center. So this one has the palm seeds, so we'll do raspberries. Okay, so you can just throw some raspberries in there, and it kind of just gives a little bit of contrasting color, and just fills that center there. We also, on our brie, my husband told me not to give this away, but I'm going to. It's really no secret. You can kind of sprinkle the brie with your favorite seasoning. So we use truffle zest a lot, and we'll just sprinkle it, around or on this centerpiece. But we also use everything bagel seasoning. That is lovely as well. And so you can kind of just jazz up the brie with that as well. Okay, so once you kind of place your brie in the center, you'll take, another triangle cheese. And so what we do is we kind of try to do a brie as a focal point, a triangle cheese for sort of visual, and then a softer cheese and a cubed cheese. Like softer cheese like goat. So we'll kind of just take this whole log. You can take the whole log, this is a half log, and just place it on the board, or you can slice it. The goat cheese knife is this one. It's like a wire, so it kind of helps slice the goat without getting stuck to the knife and losing its shape. So you can slice the cheese like that and then fan it out on the board so you can kind of see the white. And we always get this blueberry vanilla goat. It's amazing. So really the artistic part is where it comes in here, because there's no right or wrong placement per se. You can kind of just put it where you feel is most kind of visually appealing for you. And so I usually kind of place the cheeses first. So we've got the brie in the middle, we've got our triangle cheeses on the end here, and these are just alternated. So I've got my triangles, and I just do one this way, and then the next one this way, back and forth until I kind of have this shape. And then you place it on the board. So far, we've got this, 3 cheeses. Okay, the next thing I normally do is the crackers. So you kind of have a placement for the crackers. You could do bread, you can do all different kinds of things. We usually start with like a stack of round crackers, just kind of as is, and sort of depending on the shape of the board, we'll place it on the board in that shape. So this is a round board, so we kind of put it, up against something over here, and then, maybe put like, once we'll put like nuts here to kind of hold it into that shape. The grapes. I usually put the grapes on first, so that's why I'm like confused. But so the grapes, you can use purple grapes, green grapes. Sometimes, depending on the size of the board, we'll use a little bit of both just for the color. It's all about, like I said, color, flavor, texture, and just kind of getting it all in there. So the grapes, I typically put them in the top left corner or bottom right. I don't know why. Again, no right or wrong. And so we're going to put that there. I'll just move the cheese over and then leave the crackers there. I'll try to hold this up in a second. Okay, so we've got grapes, crackers, cheeses. I'll show you how to fold the meats now, because that is obviously the main event given the name charcuterie. So the first thing we'll show you is the fan cheeses. So you can buy these pre-sliced, or they typically sell it in a log. We have a meat slicer, but you can do it with a knife as well. The meat slicer just helps it get nice, even width. So with this, we start with it nice and tight. So like just a tight log, almost as if you didn't even cut it. And then you'll just kind of like cards, like kind of just fan them out like this, right? Until you kind of get them as equally spaced as you can. Again, this will go along with the shape of either a cheese. If you have sort of a triangle wedge full cheese on the board, you can just place it in a straight line kind of next to the cheese. We have a round brie here, so what I'll do is kind of try to put it around the brie a little bit and put it into like a semicircle. So now, if I can do this, I'll take the crackers off for a second. So now we've got our grapes, our cheeses, and then sort of the fanned meats down here. Can you guys see? Yeah. Okay. The fanned meats down here for that. The next way you can display a meat is this braid. So this is a chorizo braid. Let's see if I can get it to you guys. So, just visually appealing. This is, meat. But they're nice. They're kind of a little bit larger of a slice. This is the size of the chorizo. And all you do for this is you fold it in half, hamburger, and then you fold it in half again. So that kind of creates that first piece there. So then I'll put that down, and then you do it again. So you just kind of keep folding that. So you fold it in half one way, and then fold it in half again. And then you'll alternate the way that they're placed. So you've got this one. This is the same way. You'll just flip it and start stacking like that. So you get that braided effect. You can also sort of interlock them if you want to kind of create an even more braided effect. So that's up to you. So we'll just keep folding these.
Now, how do you get it to stop opening?
Once it's done, we'll kind of just like squeeze it.
Okay.
And then it's oily enough that it kind of stays like that.
Okay.
If you want it, and then once you place it on the board, you can stick something else like kind of against it that will kind of hold it in place. So this
Now,
has
how
a
many
lip.
do you eat while you're doing it?
Last night my husband, I was practicing and my husband's like, you're gonna have none left to like do the class with. I'm like, stop it! I said, there's always enough. There's always enough. And speaking of portion sizes, they recommend like 2 ounces of meat per person and 1 to 2 ounces of cheese. So our boards usually always have more than that just because why not? But that's sort of a recommended serving size. So I'm just kind of folding these. I like to hold it while I'm doing it, but you don't have to. And then once you're done, we typically do around 8 slices for this. 8 or 9 slices for this type of thing. Again, it's going to depend on your board size. This size board that we're making, we recommend for around 4 people. So that's a nice braising appetizer portion for 4 people, and so we'll place it on the board here now. So we've got the braid here, and depending on the shape of the board, some boards have a lip sort of around the edge, and some don't. So the one I'm working on does not, and so I'll kind of place it like directly against the brie, and then eventually I'll put something here to sort of hold it in place. Gotta get my crackers back on there. Well, I'll put them on last so you guys can see. Once you pinch it and then put, like nuts or something right on the other side, you will have it stay in place. So now we've got 2 meats on there. Grapes are falling. And then the last thing you can do with, there's 2 more things for meat. So we can do the meat roes next. This is the salami rose. Looks just like a rose. Some people are intimidated to eat this, but the pieces really just pull out, right? So like it's not that hard. But the first time I saw it, I'm like, nobody's gonna eat this because it's like you're touching it and everything like that. But the pieces pull right out, and it comes apart rather nicely. And so the trick to this is a champagne glass or wine glass, whatever size you want. So we're going to kind of fold them around the rim. It's very easy once you do it once. I was a little intimidated when my husband taught me, but you'll start with one piece and you kind of just stick it into the champagne glass and fold it over the rim. So once you fold it over, that's sort of where your starting point is. halfway, there's no right or wrong really. It just depends on how big your leaves are gonna be, or your petals, I should say. And so you'll start with one. Then you just start going around, and the first layer should have about 4 pieces. So you'll overlap and then just fold over. So you'll have about 4 pieces overlapping on the first layer. And then you just keep kind of overlapping from there. So we're starting to get the rose shape, and then we'll flip it at the end. We use about 12 pieces for the rose. I did measure this out. This here is 2 ounces, and the fan is 2 ounces. So far we've got 4 ounces of meat on here. This one's more like 3.5 ounces. So this is a good size board, believe it or not, as far as portion sizes. So we're just still just kind of overlapping, and you can actually do this with different size glasses. We've done kind of the chorizo size meat with a shot glass to make a little petal, so you can do different sizes, and so it really turns out very great. Okay, so I'll kind of stop here, although typically we do a couple more, and it starts to get pretty full in there, so that's kind of where your rose is taking shape. So then we kind of just like push it together, turn, and then when you bring it out, you got your rose.
Oh, nice.
So yes, and the glass is key, because we've tried a million ways of doing flowers, and the glass is key. So there's your rose. And then what we typically do, we kind of hold on to this till the end, and we'll place it like, on top of the board, so that it can have that visual effect. Okay, so we've got meat. Okay, the last way to do the meat is the nest. So this is with your prosciutto. We've got a ham here, and it's with that, kind of fatty piece. We're going to take the fatty piece along the top, and just sort of, my husband said the term is ribbon, whatever. So kind of ribbon, place it like this, about 3 pieces. So you'll have about 3 pieces with the fat part kind of facing up, and you're just like ribbon kind of placing it down. And then once you have that, you kind of just pinch it together at the bottom. So once you have that, you can kind of like fold down the petals. It's just a little nest. Some people just kind of, I don't know the proper terminology, but kind of just like let it fall into a nest on the board too, and that totally works. This is in a little cup, so sometimes you can, if you're kind of not getting it to stand up, you can stick it in a little cup on the board, or you can just kind of take this and place it like in between. I'm putting it in between the grapes and the brie cheese right here, and then you just kind of finesse it till it gets to the desired.
Very
It's
pretty.
coming together. Yeah, sorry. Yep. So kind of starting to put some stuff, just kind of holding things together, right? So then what we have is, so we've got meats, we've got cheeses. The rest is kind of, I don't, like filler, I guess, if you will. We've got cubed cheese. This is kind of a solid filler. But what we like to do, personally, is to cover all of the white space. So we've got crackers, we've got meats, we've got cheese. And now what we want to do is fill the rest in with fruit, with nuts, with pickles. We use pistachios a lot. Strawberries. So we cut the strawberries like this. So you have your strawberry, and you'll want to take kind of the thinnest side. So you've got your wide side and then the thin side. Cut it along the thin side, and then you'll get this. So you place those on the board, and they kind of end up, we place them with the strawberry point up, and then it kind of looks like just a pretty little strawberry garden, if you will. I also like to kind of throw some blueberries on top of the strawberries just for some contrasting colors, also just to add some fruit. So we'll add the strawberries on here, and then I just put a couple blueberries in the middle. Again, oops, for all preference as well, so no right or wrong. Okay, so now we've got the strawberries and the blueberries. I'll add some cube cheese. This is espresso rubbed Gouda. It's delicious. And so I'll kind of put this in a spot where I want to cover a pretty decent sized white space. So this has no lip, so you can kind of determine where you want the board to end. I typically don't go to the end because when you're carrying it somewhere, it just falls off. So I'll kind of put some cheese here and kind of overlap the meat so there's a nice transition and not like a hard line between the strawberries and the meat. So we'll just kind of overlap and fill in that space there. So now, do this. We're getting more space. So I'm kind of going to end the board right here. So we're going to go here, so we'll fill in this space, we'll fill in this space, and then kind of go from there. So we've done cheese. I have here dried fruit. So we've got dried apricots, dried mango. This goes really well. This is the sweet aspect. The sweet kind of enhances all of the flavors on the meats or on the board. So we always recommend dried fruit of all different colors and sizes and shapes. So we'll throw that on there. These crackers. We've also got blackberries and raspberries. So we'll put some more fruit on there. Again, just kind of where you see contrasting colors, filling space. So we've got some raspberries here. Crackers are not staying, so I'll fill in some blackberries kind of between the crackers. I'm going to hold it up for you again. So now we're starting to fill in space. Can you guys see? Yeah. Sorry. Okay. The pickles, so we use these little cornichons. Little pickles, they're so good. So I'll put these kind of on the end here. And I don't really measure these types of things. I just kind of fill to the eye. But the meat and the cheese we typically measure. You can do bread. You can do more crackers. We have mustard. This is a stone ground truffle mustard. So we take just a typical stone ground mustard and add our own truffle to it. And you can kind of place this on the board sort of near the outer. We've got jam. So this is apricot preserves. Place that on the board as well. Okay, let me think what else. Okay, so then we usually put trail mix on just a little bit. We use the indulgent trail mix, so like the one with, the peanut butter chips or the chocolate chips in it. It just really enhances the flavors and goes really nicely for that sweet. The acid with the pickles that we just put on will kind of cleanse the palate in between, bites. And so the last thing we sort of add is like a chocolate, like a sweet chocolate. So we've got chocolate truffles. We put those on, typically near the brie and the fruit. We've got almond butter filled pretzels. So we're just kind of adding wherever you think you see where, you could have something. And it doesn't need to be a lot, it's just a little bit. So far we've got this, and at this point, you could be done. What we do then is sort of garnish. So we use rosemary, fresh herbs for the aroma, as well as just kind of fresh greenery. And then we also do the rose. So we'll place the rose kind of wherever makes most sense or whatever looks best in your opinion. So we'll place that on. We do a lot with depth. Oops, oh, sorry. we do a lot with depth as well. It landed face up, believe it or not.
Lucky you.
I thought it was a pretzel, and it was not, but we did okay there. So we do depth as well. So, sometimes grazing tables are sort of like flat and long. Again, we do more like compact and kind of build up. So we've got that. Sometimes we'll add like a meringue for another little sweet flavor. And then we sometimes do like kind of like a breadstick type thing. So this is just giving texture, dimension, and different shapes. So this, however you want to put it there. I'm trying to get it so that it won't fall. So this is basically your finished product.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Just like that. I don't even know how much time we have left. Oh, it's racing. What time is it?
You have 3 minutes
3
left.
minutes. Oh, perfect timing. Excellent. Any questions? Oh, the kiwi. Yeah. So we also garnish with the kiwi. So all you do is, I say all you do, it would be like many practices. You take a little paring knife and you just kind of cut in a zigzag till it meets, and then you pull it apart and you have the kiwi like that. So yep, we'll put that on top, and that's another garnish. So you can garnish with all different kinds of things. Different crackers, they have a lot of gluten-free crackers, gluten-free options as well, so it's all gluten-free friendly too sometimes. Different components. So, any other questions? Yeah.
I might have missed it. Do you put nuts?
Yes, I don't think I put them on this particular board, but we typically do pistachios. So, yep. Or the trail mix too has nuts in it.
And do you, if some people don't want to pick it up, do you have toothpicks or something like that?
Yep, we typically put out little tongs or cheese knives or things like that. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I do that and somebody puts their hand in it, I'm gonna say, don't touch it.
I know,
I just wanna look at it.
Right, I know. It's a catch-22. Like, don't eat it or do I eat it? It's really good.
You mentioned a lot of different flavors, like the pretzel-filled
Yep.
almond with almond butter or whatever. All those. Where do you find those kinds of things?
Yeah,
Trader
so
Joe's.
that's a great question. Trader Joe's and Aldi, believe it or not, has a lot of good, for the kind of the regular consumer, has a lot of good charcuterie items.
Aldi's
Yep,
is wonderful.
Aldi's, yeah.
Yeah.
They do fun like holiday cheeses too, so like around Christmas you'll get like a cheddar that's shaped like, a snowman or something like that. So, yeah, they have some good stuff. Yeah, and then these, so like we sometimes put the preserves in the middle or in a thing on the side, but we also have these little jars. These are like $1 a piece on Amazon. But this is, raspberry jam. They have honey like this too. Typically we put a little piece of honeycomb on the board as well. I did not bring that today, but that's a nice solid touch as well. Honeycomb's way better than honey. Any other questions? Oftentimes too, we'll put some crackers on the side so that you have extra. But beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.